but you really had a horrible moment. Your season essentially ended on the second drive of that game, it felt like. Welcome back to the ANF Podcast, where we cover Iowa sports. We're going to do a recap of the Michigan State game going into the Cade injury and flow of the season. Mm-hmm. Then we're going to go into a preview of the Purdue game at 2:30 this Saturday, and then wrap it up with some picks. I think our initial impression from the game is, Iowa sustained a season-changing injury. Yeah, it was just absolutely devastating. And, this was supposed to be the bounce-back game. This was supposed to be your redemption game, your redemption tour. We heard all about Cade's speech. Clearly, he's not just, one of the best players on the team. He's also the emotional leader of the team. And he says he feels like, the guy who's speaking would be the captain. And it was kind of a double ball. And it kind of wore all over the players playing that game. This is after the injury, it felt like the team kind of lacked emotion. The crowd definitely lacked emotion. And it kind of impacted, the rest of the game, not just based on the play of the quarterback, but also the emotions of the team. Well, I think the beatdown from the week prior, you could see it carried over into this game. Yeah. You had the night game environment. You still, going into the game, it still lacked that typical night game energy, right? Whether that was, us imbuing that on the game or not. Mm-hmm. The defense came out and did not play with a lot of emotion early. Not a lot of celebrations. Guys, I think a product of this was just when you get your ass kicked like that, mm-hmm. You're really not going to play with much confidence going forward. And, you stack the Western Michigan game on top of that, where you took a Western Michigan team until the third quarter. Right. Utah State has not had a good season. Iowa State's had a pretty lackluster season as well. Yeah. You're really lacking evidence of why you're a good team. Yeah, and it just all comes down to just the expectations you came up this season. Yeah, it was supposed to be a different season. The past. You were supposed to win the West. That was a given, and then you were also supposed to almost compete for a Big Ten title. It felt like that with the additions, and it just hasn't. So many things have gone wrong. Yeah, you see Lachey not only get injured, but in a brutal way. Yeah, you have all your games so far have been tight, and you've had tight games against lackluster opponents. And it kind of all had, almost like a crescendo to a Michigan State loss at home that would have essentially ended the season, than any expectations. Well, I really think we have to take in perspective that, the injuries that have piled up now are almost the same for every team that exists. Right. You're losing your best receiving target in Lachey. But outside of that, too, he was also our best inline blocker by quite a large margin, and we're a running the ball team. Yeah. We had a great combo. We had a great two-way threat with him. Right. You now lose your top two running backs. Jazz, who really came out on the scene, was looking really good. Caleb was obviously no problem. Lose your starting quarterback, probably I would say, he had to perform well to this point, but every time you watched him play, this was the best QB. You had a belief in him, and regardless of whether he still made some mistakes and wasn't playing at a super high level, he still the Iowa State game. He still showed a lot of promise in Utah State. The way he processed games, the way he had kind of a game ship, aspect to his play. Really felt like he held defenses, understood what they're doing to him, and he progressed through his reads so quickly. I think that was, really apparent. Well, I think now what we're just looking at again is you might be looking at a 2021, 2022 Iowa team, right? But the defense isn't as good. Yeah, and it's where they said. I still think that there's elements of this team, and we can after this point we can get to the defensive breakdown. Mm-hmm. I still think there's elements of this team. If Cooper doesn't let two punts get kicked over his head, right? I think the offense looks better. Right. When we get backed up, we are the most conservative team in America. Mm-hmm. We get guessed. Most teams do get guessed. Most teams are very conservative, but we are extra in those moments. Mm-hmm. And when those two punts got kicked over his head, we got backed up and essentially had to waste half the quarter. I don't think it was Cooper's fault in either case either. No, it felt like there's a hell of punts. It was. Yeah. And those flip momentum, and then when you're rolling out a secondary QB, only thing that Kirk's thinking about that's don't lose the game in this moment. Let's just get a good punt back. Yeah. That game had a horrible game flow for everything already happened. Yeah. Like you mentioned, us getting backed up, the fumble into the return. Yeah. We see, momentum and control up going up 10-6, and then we blow, a late coverage that allowed me to field goal, and then the fumble happens. It could have gone a totally different way if we have sustained momentum at that point. I think the way I view the rest of the season is that, that game, was not a good sign that you're playing Michigan State that tough. Yeah. But you really had, a horrible moment. Your season essentially ended on the second drive of that game, it felt like. And I think the only way Iowa comes back from this is that they need someone else to step up emotionally. Mm-hmm. Like, you have to have another emotional leader rise up on that offense and defense and for the team. Someone has to get very vocal in that room, because from what I saw, it felt like it's very flat. They didn't have that emotion anymore.
Yeah.
It's hard to see your leader go down.
Yeah.
And someone needs, it's definitely a coach's point, going into this week. We have to establish a new captain. We have to establish a new voice. I mean, but you're really starting to think about it. It's like Eric Gall is the only piece in there. He's a first-year player. Grant Cade was too. But, yeah, man, Lachey, it's just difficult to see where the offense is going to derive any confidence, especially after the receiver's performance.
Right.
But, yeah, without further ado, let's get the defense before we extend this conversation too long. Yeah. What I wanted to bring to the table was how this game played out. Again, it's reinforcing Iowa's style of play. Mm-hmm. So Michigan State came out with a very well schemed plan. We're going to break down, 3 different types of tactics they used that all were executed at a high level. All had a very unique way of attacking this Iowa offense that I would even say I haven't seen a whole lot of. Mm-hmm. To open up with their run game. So how Iowa approaches power run is right from the beginning of the play, our D end, if he sees a down block inside of it, they leave him and they see guards pulling and flow his way, they slide down instantaneously to inside C. You're squeezing that C. That's your number one goal, right? When you see a down block, you're being left. Yeah. You are essentially now trying to take on the pulling guard's inside shoulder. That is your one goal. You're trying to spill everything out. And so they were influenced, every time that happened, our D wouldn't fall in. Yeah, and I think you saw Herkett, Craig, and I don't know if I saw Evans had a couple plays like that too. But in a few plays, they nearly fell down. Yeah, because they're anticipating this, massive, collision essentially, and then all of a sudden they're getting tricked and their eyes are. Yeah, they're either getting left and getting guys going actually past them on QB reads and other runs, or they're getting hooked. Right. And how it also affected us too is our linebackers are reading that as power as well. Mm-hmm. So they're fitting, inside to out. Right. They're trying to run an C gap. Yep. And also you have these guys wrapping around who have now left the D end and are free to hook the place high linebacker. And they have to step on you because your eyes are your initial read show. And we took a long time to adjust to it. And you saw Carter get on the edge multiple times. They actually even, from the very beginning, you could tell we were trying to take away the QB read. We had guys filling backside C the entire time. It was definitely a point of problem. It was like, we're going to take this QB read away, see if they could beat his front side. Mm-hmm. With that front side slant, we still had another moment where it was a very similar action. The DN was left. They left him completely, ran around him, had a front side slant, and then they bent it back. And I was like, man, they knew what looks they were going to get, and they were completely prepared. Yeah. And then definitely, I'd say probably the worst I've seen Iowa DNs play. Yeah. In a long time. Well, you mix in the pass rush and then just keep being completely out of place. Yeah. I mean, that was the worst DN play I got. I think I don't want to get back to the confidence issue and the emotion stuff, but every single, I'll say the D tackles are not really playing with their eyes a lot, but DNs and linebackers are playing with their eyes all game. Yeah. In that type of situation, those type of fakes. All 4 of them had brutal mistakes. Yeah. Higgins, Jackson, both the DNs. Any DN that played, every single player, eyes slowed at least one play in a massive movement. Yeah. I remember, I think it was fourth quarter, Higgins was chasing Kim. Yeah, I saw that. Away from the play, and let the 10-yard run. I was like, dang. Jackson got caught many times where it was a good fake. And it's a product when the defense doesn't play fast in a system like that, and you are missing reads, missing eyes, it can go south. It falls apart fast. And they consistently ran 10 yards. Even with going on the same theory, Quinn Schulte had 2 plays, which you exactly called out. He had a tight end in where it was him and Carter. The outside receiver had ran a drag, and Carter is running in on him. Carter is his only guy he's defending. Right. And he's 6'6", 260. Yeah. He's not going to stick and go. Yeah. Schulte comes up on the end and then squats down, and you can tell for a moment that Western Michigan play caught and says they're trying to, because that's what Western Michigan did. They ran in and up on him for 50 yards, whatever it was. Yeah. And that's again that pride of doubting yourself a little bit. Right. And they got a 2nd and 10 conversion. Yeah. And then later in the game, on a 3rd and 15 draw play, he comes up and he's the last line defense. Yeah. And he routinely plays those plays super slow. Mm-hmm. He does not want to give up a missed tackle there. He understands that he's the last guy. Yeah. But you also have to have some self-belief there because he had players around him and he had a chance. If you just come hard, you can break down closer to him and just take his legs out. But he really played it super passive, and we almost gave up a 3rd and 15. Granted, they went for 4th and 1 and we stopped him. But it was one of those moments like, man, we're really playing slow. Like, we do not trust our feet.
That was the slowest defense of Phil Parker's defense to play. And I think it just goes back to what we opened with. Penn State ass kicking, losing Cade. Felt like a weird game. The team behaved super strange. We don't see those type of that type of lack of confidence and lack of quickness and lack of eyes on Iowa defense almost ever. And obviously the offense had its own kind of ways of playing that out, but defense, it was shocking to see them play that slow.
Well, I think the last schematic thing I want to talk about, which was, again, I was really going back and watching film. I had that feeling when I was watching the game, like, this is a really well-designed game by Michigan State. Like, you could tell they came in with ideas of how to attack us, and it was executed really well. That screen game they kept beating us with, they always went to it when we were in cover 3 press. So you're seeing our corners are lined up 2 or 3 yards of the ball. They're bailing out, but they're not focused on what's going on in the backfield. So they're going to be completely eyes on the receiver. Receiver have now break, run a fly, take that corner with them. Then it'll just be a one-on-one with our flat defender. Our guys didn't get off that block at all. They actually blocked it up every time on us. And I kept going for 10 over and over again. And every time we got to that press formation, you could see the check come in. And they go, okay, we're going to keep beating this. And they used it all game. It was, and the final one, I guess, is the QB power. This, again, plays in the same thing. You see Higgins on that QB power in the late 3rd quarter. Has a chance to eat the block. Bypasses the block, but still misses Kim. Like, that's just not Iowa football. You take that block on, you get an arm on him. He was Kim was still 5 yards from the first down.
We're going to see that QB power all year. I think even against Purdue, as we'll cover, that's going to be it's a great design play. On 3rd down, you're going to be able to dictate that play every single time. You're going to have numbers because we're just not going to be able to account for a QB in that situation. Right when I saw that, they ran 3 times. And had success every time. This is going to be a common thing. It might not have, it might not be the same play, but it's going to have there's going to be similar designs that are trying to, locate the same, attack, essentially.
I think you're going to really see that whole scheme copied all year.
I didn't think about this before we were recording, but Iowa came in with a lot of hype this year. What do you do with teams that have a lot of hype?
Scheme them out.
Prep for them. You're going to the offense.
Especially as a team in the East, too.
And you can beat them. This team's not that skilled. They're skilled.
You can out-scheme them, though.
But you can out-scheme them. And, we have a real shot at beating Iowa every year. Michigan State actually will do that. And so you come in, in the offseason, you're not putting a week, 2 weeks in them, maybe put, a full season for a month. And that kind of felt like 2021, or 2022 for sure. Every team attacked us very appropriately the entire time. It felt like, you just came off this Big Ten West title. You were 10-2, you were the Golden Boys for some time. You got the real off-season treatment.
You got the full month treatment. You got a couple sit-in coaches.
That's what it felt like Michigan State had that type of prep.
It really did.
Want to get into offensive?
Let's do it.
Where to start? As much as we, just harped on the defense for having a lot of breakdowns, offense, same thing. And confidence, receivers, your most confident position on the field. You have to be riding like lightning to play in that position. There's a reason why NFL receivers are usually the biggest psychopaths in the world. It's because you have to be believing in yourself 24/7. And, when you can bring up Deacon's ball is a different ball than Cade's, it has a tighter spiral, so it really spins off your hands. It doesn't, it's not coming with a lot more pace. But a lot of those catches were very makeable. And it felt like, a lot of receivers, they would drop them and then they wouldn't even get mad. There was kind of this weird reaction with Vines and Ragaini of they dropped a few passes and they just kind of dropped their head or kind of spelling off. There wasn't this frustration level. You could just tell the team wasn't riding that lightning as a whole, and it obviously showed the receivers and defense. But the receivers aren't the only position group to blame in that situation or for the entire performance. The offensive line, Colby was out the entire game in a chiller. He's our best run blocker, without a doubt, for the entire unit. The team lacked, explosive double teams majority of the game. And they had 3 or 4 moments where they truly make the wrong decisions off who to peel off. The zone double teams has been, since Barnett has got there, they consistently make the wrong decision.
and I don't know if it's it's all Barnett's fault. It's just the players' lack of confidence. But for the past 2 or 3 years, there's just so many times where no one knows who's getting off. Like you can just call out a couple plays in particular, people can go out and watch.
Yeah.
There's a run, a zone. I think it might be an outside zone right. Maybe it's inside zone right. But it's just common look. Dunker and Ostrenga have a double on.
We're backed up
Early second quarter.
Post Cade injury.
Post Cade injury, yes.
Second down.
Yeah.
First down.
But Dunker has a guy outside eye.
Right.
And
completely cut him in half.
Cut him in half. And Ostrenga, and they're taking a right step. So Ostrenga's going to be actually on the right half of his body.
Yeah.
If they get movement on this dude, this is a play side block. You need to move this guy 2 yards. People are actually going to flow to you, so you don't need to go run after him.
No, you're trying to create a wash.
Yeah.
You're actually the wash player in outside zone.
Yeah.
That double is the key play that can hold linebackers from flowing over the top of C-gap.
Yeah.
So that double should be held as long as possible.
True. Yeah.
Because your real goal is get 4 yards.
Yeah.
Because that kind of sets the play.
Yeah, because if you get a lot of movement there, that's actually where the play's supposed to hit.
Right. It is. It's supposed to fly off that double.
So, and then DeYoung has a double with Jones. He actually passes him on. So DeYoung is now,
he's reaching.
DeYoung's now play side linebacker.
Right.
So they have a man accounting for this play side linebacker. And you don't have to account for him if you get that double team movement on that right end. And Dunker just leaves him. And he leaves Ostrenga, and you can see Ostrenga wasn't prepared for it.
Right. He kind of looked back at him like, what the hell was that?
Yeah.
Like you don't leave there at all.
No. And it was walled up. Like, LaShawn, I would have went for 8.
Right.
And it's just one of those moments like, what the hell are we doing? Yeah. Like, you're a third-year tackle. Right. You're in a play-side zone scheme.
Yeah.
If we can't execute this, we're never going to win a game.
Right.
Same thing happens on another goal line where Stylianos and Richmond are in a double team.
Was it Stylianos or was it?
Stylianos.
So, yeah, they're on the backside.
Backside. Yeah. Actually, I think it was play-side. LaShawn just ended up bending the back because he had pressure in space.
Yeah.
But it's a double team. Guy shoots. He's giving you a gift. He's shooting you on a zone scheme.
Yeah.
You can now watch him.
Yeah.
Richmond doesn't see him, and he just runs in the backfield and gets for 2-yard loss. It's like we're just not executing zone at all. Mm-hmm. It's because the players aren't. Maybe they're playing slow. Maybe they're playing.
I feel like that was
a little more difficult one.
First times where I think it's you gotta play there.
Yeah.
Like, you have a body for it.
Mm-hmm.
You're almost you're wasting that guy at that point.
Yeah.
But that was the first time like the old line kind of had a good amount of those like 2 of those very clear breakdowns.
Yeah.
I'd say the first one was way worse.
Yeah.
And I don't want to belabor the point, but it felt like every single position group kind of had these drop the ball moments.
Yeah.
And the O-line played its worst game.
Yeah.
Like I really before the season I expected really good things from this O-line just based on the experience and age and true talent like some players. And if this performance continues for the rest of the year, like that's just not acceptable. Like
the only way out now is running the ball.
Right. So you're truly like defenses will anticipate your run. You're going to need to not just be a good running team or above average running team to like stem games. You're going to freaking run the ball at clip.
Yeah.
And
could need 600 runs on first down.
Guess what? Like
half the time.
You want to win the West this year. You want to have a good season. You want to even win 9 games, 8 games. The run game it has to not go from below average at this point. Or I consider probably average in my eyes after that game to now like be, an A- type of run game.
Yeah.
And
I don't know if you can call it average. There's no real data on that at all.
I still think from the Utah State game, Iowa State,
Colby being back, sure.
And Western Michigan game, Colby clearly was a huge miss. Yeah. I think those first 3 games they played fine.
Yeah.
I think the last 2 games they played they didn't block the field last 3.
Yeah.
Entire game. But yeah, I think that you have to have that.
Yeah.
You can, if I talk about emotional leader, if you want to be a leader of a team, you got every upperclassman, every single player that plays right now is an upperclassman.
Yeah.
We get recruited at a high clip.
Yeah.
Like, go perform.
Yeah.
Like, this is your moment to save your coach's job, save the head coach's job. The offensive line is the bread and butter of this program. It has to go perform like it is.
Yeah.
And that is the key to the season.
Well, I think the other aspect of the run game we haven't talked about too is obviously you're down your top 2 backs.
Right.
If you get those 2 guys back,
mm-hmm.
like I think it could perform well.
Right.
Because you're just not breaking tackles. Because there was LaShawn obviously gets both of them. He's never been a good back though. Like, let's just be frank. He's too slow. He's way too slow to be a D1 Power 5 back.
Right.
There's no way around it. Moulton is a true freshman running back who his only goal is to not have a negative rush because of how he runs.
Right.
I mean, hell, you could watch a play back where we run an outside zone. I don't know if it was a true outside zone, but Eric Hall, you have his too high safety look. Eric Hall gets his man turned. You see a tight end's ass turn on the edge, and he cuts it up inside for 2.
So if you go back and I think it's like the fourth quarter with like 8 minutes left on their side of the field.
Yeah.
Like 4-3 look, need a good run.
Yeah.
The O-line blocks it well.
Credit
to them. It was a well-blocked play.
The
D tackle gets a little bit of penetration, but Logan still had him. It wasn't a run through.
No.
And if Moulton just bounced it out, it's 10 maybe more.
It could be a touchdown.
Right.
He's going to be one-on-one
Well
safety
blocked play.
at full speed.
Another one of those, like Richmond kind of looks back like dude.
Yeah. What the hell are we doing?
We were walking. I didn't even block anybody.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and all barely had to put his hands on the guy. I don't know what the hell Michigan State was doing. Why they were rolled down that.
Right.
But they weren't.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was a missed call or something. It was just one of those moments where when it was live, I was like, holy shit, how did we miss that one?
And I think that's like where you talk about 2022 offense and 2021 offense. That those were seasons or offenses were defined by legitimately someone always effing up.
Yeah.
Like, all right, like, oh, we strung 2 plays together as a full unit.
Yeah.
And then a receiver breaks down, tight end breaks down, offensive line breaks down, or Peach breaks down.
Yeah.
And that's what this game felt like.
Yeah.
Like, oh, like here's the offensive line actually execute running back missed zone. Like, oh, here's the quarterback executing a good read. Oh, here's the receiver dropping the pass. And it's just like the multitude of like truly almost like the only guy that's going to really belong on this field, you know, and some of the O-linemen against these upper team, like, you know, good Big Ten defenses.
Yeah.
And it just feels like there's going to be like this kind of like herky-jerky feel to this offense for the rest of the year. Do that.
It's also like just the reality of a college offense.
Right.
It's like when you can't make off-schedule plays, when your QB can't run the ball, like to expect clean play from college kids is not like
Sustainable. It doesn't happen in the NFL.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
So then and we call every freaking play for 4 yards. Every single one until we lull them to sleep enough where we can run one double move. And Brian said, we had the Anderson setup, we missed a throw by 10 yards. Yeah. It's like you saw this play out in the passing game too. Granted, all the drops happened. Deacon probably gets in more of a rhythm if we could catch a couple of balls. Right. He's got to learn how to turn the goddamn nose down on a throw in the middle of it.
Yeah.
If you get Salem, a couple of them Vine's got 2 hands on.
Right.
But if it's coming this way, you're not going to be able to catch up with your fingertips.
Right.
Vine's dropped 2 bad passes. 2 of his drops were like, it's a fastball coming at an angle high.
Right.
Like you're not catching that pass more than 60% of the time.
Right.
And
that's a good time to break into Deacon, like what we saw. We haven't talked about Deacon yet.
Yeah.
Like there was breakdowns by the running backs. It was not a good performance for them. Offensive line, worst game by them, I'd say. Receivers, clearly what happened. We know what happened.
Yeah.
But like from Deacon's, like him coming in, he's clearly got arm talent. He's got a gigantic arm. He can really spin it. I feel like everything about this is best than negative. But
yeah,
he had stared down guys consistently.
Yeah.
Like late in the game, we did that double move to Seth Anderson, and he stared it down for 4 seconds. Like legitimately only looked at him the entire time, to the point where the deep half safety was like, "Are you going there?"
Yeah.
Like legitimately, that's the only route on the side of the field like be looking at.
Yeah.
And he stared at him for so long that like the guy had opportunity to play.
Yeah.
And we saw in the first 2 plays of
we had a flat and flag combo where there was a flat defender.
his very first possession.
Deacon didn't take his eyes off the flag the entire time. Right. So the flat defender just falls into it and the ball skips out his hands. Luckily, the only thing that Deacon's got really going from him right now is he hucks the ball so hard most defenders won't be able to catch it.
Right.
And that's actually that's a real thing too.
Right.
Like the defenders don't have good hands in general.
Yeah.
So they have a different.
This guy's hard.
Yeah. Probably harder than some NFL like guys who are known for throwing it hard in the NFL.
Right. He's really expensive.
Because the one, it just makes me laugh though, because the one where he actually he does have good pocket presence.
He does.
I'll say that. That's actually the thing that he does well. And we have the boot game back into play because he can move. Cade. We didn't run hardly any boot with him because how limited he was.
Mm-hmm.
But he did move well to the side. And then it was like a 10-15 yard throw to Vines and that like late one that hit Vines' chest. But he threw it, probably 65 miles an hour. Literally a Josh Allen hawk.
Yeah.
And it's like, you didn't need that much on that.
Right. And that's what you kind of see from his throwing motion. He's reaching back every time.
Yeah. Like he's
he's not like you watch Cade throw. It's like a kind of myriad of like ways to make certain throws.
Yeah.
Like he just got a fastball.
Yeah.
And
that's gonna hurt your accuracy too when you throw it that hard.
Right.
It's just a difficult time controlling it until you like learn how to really flick your wrist.
Yeah.
So it's not sustainable to expect good results from that type of throw. Yeah. And he's playing, he probably thinks that's what you have to do as a D1 QB. He's like, I'm going to go out and chuck it around.
Yeah, spin it. Yeah.
But there's a couple times where he would just see him eyeing it up, and on the pick he threw. This is a broader point about I hate our passing scheme. I mean, you saw us eventually start going to over the middle throws on those slants, and they're wide open. Mm-hmm. Could have executed one of those. Right. Could have kept going back to it. He's just got to learn how to temper that throw. He did temper one of the game somehow dropped as a 6-year receiver. Yeah. Ball right here. When you just run these flood concepts over and over again, like it was just 10-yard out flood concepts. Yeah. And you have, you're running it with tight ends, you run it with slow receivers. Uh-huh. Eventually, you saw like the DBs just start playing wide. Right. Like they knew we were just going to the sideline, and because we're not running the ball, if you're gonna not run the ball, you can't go to 2nd and 10 and have this 25-yard throw against zone. Right. Like the guys are just gonna be there, and you're gonna have your QB either throw a ball where it's catchable by your receiver and no one else, which is impossible from 25 yards outside the numbers. Mm-hmm. It's literally an impossible throw. Yeah. Because of where the DB's coming from, or you're gonna get a pick. Yeah. So you're playing this like super high tightrope, and I get it. Like I understand the fear of over the middle throws. We saw it play out twice. Yeah. You saw the tip pass.
There was a hunt to be caught
where Holiday dropped it, and that's common with over the middle because you get D-line, can get their hands on it. Yeah. And the second one is tip ball off the receiver's hand, which happened to then the Vines in the first half of the Vines where Deacon roped one and the ball shot up 10 yards to 2 deep high safeties, and the fact that it didn't end up picked off is a miracle. Yeah. So I get the philosophy, but you're going to have to take chances with this new team, especially if you can't run the ball. Like the over the middle throws on 2nd and long and 3rd and long is just where it's got to go.
Yeah, and I think we probably should move into the preview for Purdue.
Yeah,
and I think.
We are happy to announce a new sponsor for the ANF Podcast. The ANF Podcast is sponsored by Eye Surgeons Associates, proudly serving Eastern Iowa and Western Illinois for all your eye care needs for over 40 years.
That was a very frustrating game to watch us play Michigan State to the wire.
Yeah.
Like for what the scope of this season is, you have to take into account injuries, obviously, but like we just had to go toe for toe and kind of got outplayed a little bit by a team that's going to probably win 4 games.
Yeah.
And we have that night game at home.
Yeah.
But for the offensive sake, if you bring the running backs back and you get these guys that can consistently read holes and, consistently pick up extra yardage that we know Patterson can, we know Caleb has, break it game speed. There's a route where the run game could actually carry you to a decent season or even a good season.
Yeah.
And that was Deacon's first game, his entire career.
Yeah.
And Cade's been taking every rep. Cade came in with essentially no experience in this offense.
Well, Cade actually had limited reps through camp.
He had limited reps through camp. I get that. But it's camp offense.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Camp offense is legitimately just your bare bones, like,
that's what it looked like.
Yeah. And so now he comes into a week where it's schemed on him. Mm-hmm. And I felt like consistently watching the game, I was like, well, this is legitimately just our camp bare bones playbook.
Yeah.
And we can't run anything of, you need.
Boot or slant was.
Right.
Yeah.
5 wide stick.
Yeah.
It just kind of had a very simple feeling to it. Now, the reason why I have optimism about this offense still to look better than it did is now if receivers got to catch the ball all week, and you get a scheme of what actual real offense for, where he gets the full playbook, he gets to learn the entire offense, essentially how we're going to attack Purdue. And that should radically change how this game is played in my eyes.
I agree with that. I think, playing a game that is straight.
Radically change, but yeah.
I also think there's an element where you mix in a little bit of QB around with him because you're not worried about him, breaking down. Like he's a big fella. Mm-hmm. Like a QB draw, QB read. Right. It's not going to be fleet of foot, but something you could surprise him with a big ball in the goal line.
Right.
He moves well enough. He does move well enough. And I think, as hard as I was on him about getting the ball down, that's he's going into a game, a night game at Kinnick for his first ever against a Big Ten team when they're down. Mm-hmm. Like he had some juice flowing for sure.
Right.
If he can relax, take some temper off some passes. Yeah. At least what we saw from him, it wasn't a Petrus thing. Like Petrus out there would just would dirt a ball,
Right.
would not throw, like he played almost with too much confidence. Yes, a little bit too much confidence. He was a gunslinger for sure. Right. And I went back and watched a little of his high school tape, and I was like, oh, so you were a gunslinger your whole life. You believe in your arm. Yeah, he fits windows. That's what he does. Yeah. So I don't think we're gonna have an issue with him, being afraid of himself, which is good. But I think he's got enough talent to win at this level. Right. Like, I don't think we're gonna have to call a game like in spite of him, which is big. Right. But yeah, I think let's move into what we've seen from Purdue too. Yeah. It's a deeper perspective.
I would start with this. Purdue, has lost to Syracuse.
They're a 2-3 team.
Right. And there's a reason why.
Yeah.
Their first year program, their personnel doesn't match their scheme on defense as well as they would like to. Their front five, they run a 5 front with a consistent man-to-man scheme behind.
We're actually going to see a lot of 6 front in this game and we line up in 2 tight ends.
Right. You're going to stack a linebacker inside of the end.
Yeah.
You're running a very unique system, and you really need to have strong man corners to run the system because you're putting them on islands the entire time, and they're putting a free safety like 25 yards deep, and they're essentially in cover 1 consistently and cover 0 sometimes.
Yeah. Or on the goal line, they're almost always cover 0. It's weird.
Yeah. And so it's actually a really poor matchup for what Iowa wants to do offensively because we're not a team focused on getting the receivers the ball on slant passes or generally consistent man beaters.
Yeah.
And their defensive line is 3 true D tackles, essentially, from their, a 1 tech and 2 3 techs. And then true big D ends.
Yeah, big.
Like 270, 280. Yeah. One of them can run really well under 4 cannon. And so they're not the most talented team on defense, but what they're built to do, and this is obviously Bielema's coordinator from the Illini last year. We struggled for all hell other than the legitimate report in that game to move the ball.
Yeah.
And so if this is another scheme, if this is not the way they're built on defense, I think our offense has success generally more than I think they would in the rest of the season. But it's just a horrible matchup for our offense because you're going to be running against heavy sets.
Well, this goes back to what we saw on Saturday and what I expect. Hopefully we can change this up a little bit, but because when Deacon came in, I think they knew we weren't going to try and throw down the field. I think we knew they weren't going to trust him to make big time throws. You saw corners sitting down on guys at 10 yards.
Right.
They knew the out route was coming. They knew the curl was coming. Our guys would get to 8 and the corner would stop his feet. Mm-hmm. And Graham, we tried to run one double move late because we eventually picked up on there to sit down on us.
Right.
But if that starts happening in a man-to-man game,
right,
and you try and throw out routes against that, 10-yard out routes, and guys sit down on you, that small window I'm talking about, that's even smaller against man-to-man.
Yeah. I think what I would like to see this game is obviously what all did last game was, all right, he's NFL.
Yeah.
He's not just like get drafted, he's like probably a top 3-round pick.
Yeah.
With that type of athleticism, the type of playmaking at that position.
Yeah.
He's a great player for this team.
Yeah.
Like the Laporta 2022 game plan against Illinois will be the exact same one we have in this game.
Yeah.
It's going to be, very similar. And Deacon's going to be looking for him all year.
Okay.
Yeah. The more I watch Seth Anderson and the more you see how he runs his routes, catch out ball, how he's truly quick out of his breaks. Mm-hmm. And he's got top end speed. He's got decent enough size. The size is no different than Vines and Ragaini. Mm-hmm. He needs to be getting the ball. Mm-hmm. He truly needs 8 targets a game. Mm-hmm. And we just haven't got to that level. I don't know if it's a positional thing where
I think he's just a true 9.
Right.
And we don't like on the line receiver and we don't throw slants.
Probably doesn't block like Ragaini and Vines do. That's probably it.
And I think Seth's playing just enough plays. I just don't think when we line up those 5 wides,
right,
Vines is just more true slot in our mind.
Yeah.
So he just ends up getting those targets.
Mm-hmm. We need to design that differently where there should be only 2 guys in the receiving game that are getting, 5+ targets. Yeah. It's got to be all and it's got to be him.
I think if Vines can catch the ball, again, I don't think that's going to be indicative of his whole season. I think he's an okay player, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I really just don't want Raga getting any more targets. We see it, guys just eat him alive all the time. No one believes he's going deep on him. Mm-hmm. And we have to move away from him. Mm-hmm. I'd rather even Caleb Brown jump the ball, but it's just keep giving those plays.
Right.
I know you're rewarding the 6-year player who came back, but I mean, has he made a play all year outside of Utah State? Mm-hmm. Yeah. The lack of strength, first man teams are going to kill him.
Yeah.
Actually, another part about their defense they run that I want to mention was we tried it. We actually executed really early in the game last year where we would run these cuts with our tight ends on the boot actions where they start up, bastard out behind the line, then cut our deep on the boot. It's a very common play for a lot of teams.
Yeah.
And it was working really well because how Illinois plays their linebackers in this matchup zone, they switch. So if you're going to have a tight end on this side, when they come across, that backside linebacker has to recognize it. You'll see the other linebacker point to him. And what killed us eventually is they actually started recognizing it really early. That tight end screen we tried to run got broken out by it.
Right.
Once we hit him with it twice, they immediately corrected. Walter's going to come into the game going, okay, you have to be intentional with stopping this play.
Right.
So
it should lead to a possible backdoor zone out scheme, right?
Yes.
Essentially, it's like, all right, the boot actually matters now, but also it's like the tight end kind of behaves like the puller there.
Yeah. Because
he's holding him. Like the boot should hold him.
Yeah.
It never has.
Yeah.
Where it does, but it like doesn't for one play.
Yeah.
And you assume that can help the run game if they count.
Yeah. The scheme in this game is it's just so limited when you play our style of football.
Right.
Like it's just going to be out routes. It's just going to be slants.
Yeah.
And that's how we're going to have to get guys open. My worry is that no one's going to catch the ball on our team and go for a lot. You don't have the big play receiver. That's what's so interesting about watching all these games when I watch film. You see how teams beat Purdue. You see a QB who has a broken play. He gets outside the pocket. You see a QB read with that looping tackle and he goes for 40.
Yeah.
It's like you just don't see the plays how we're going to run.
And that's like Purdue's scheme. When you put 5 real D linemen on the field, like you're super slow.
Yeah.
And if you have an athletic QB back there, what that generally does to you is like 3rd and short, and any time when you miss the initial rusher, like it's going to go for like 20.
Yeah.
Because you're just not that quick of a team. And we don't have the ability to really hurt these guys how they get hurt.
Yeah.
I think it's time to move into what we anticipate when we're on defense. And once again, it's a horrible scheme matchup, horrible personnel matchup.
Yeah.
Purdue's going to play this Graham Harrell. So this is the Mike Leach tree that's coming down. He played for Harrell and
Texas Tech,
or played for Leach in 09. And they truly it's a really chucking around offense. Card can throw the deep ball very well. And the worst part about playing against this defense for us is that Carr is a real athlete. He's the best athlete at QB we've seen all year.
Yeah.
And he's got real lateral ability. He's got real
I think
speed.
I think he's a good athlete. I was actually more impressed by what he could do with throwing the ball.
Right.
Like I'd say he's got Cade level arm strength. I don't think it's crazy deep ball. It's an strength, but it's an accurate deep ball.
Yeah.
I still don't think deep balls are going to be the thing that beats us in this game. It's going to be the 10 to 15 yard throws. I saw him hit a lot of really difficult tight window throws.
Right.
It seems like the line protects him well. With our lack of DN pressure, and he mixes in an athletic QBs to be able to extend plays.
Right.
We're just going to see this team, possess the ball again. And our hope in this game is going to be what we hope for every game. It's when you get inside the 20, you saw Michigan State kind of panic in those moments where they actually go to the deep ball. It's when they threw the pick to Cooper. They had another play where they got, I don't know if it was the correct call on chop block. They actually back come up on their original possession.
Right.
But they were going to have to play that, 7 yards and in football, which is where shit gets really difficult.
Yeah.
But that's going to be our hope this game is because they have real receivers. Burks is a real guy. Garrett Miller at tight end's a real tight end.
Yassine's a real dude.
Tracy's really stepped into a running back role.
Tracy looks exactly like what we should have done when he stepped on campus.
Yeah.
They were in there.
Yeah.
They got a 3-headed monster, truly at running back.
Yeah. Downey's good. Lockeby's good.
Lockeby can really play. Their whole lines had moments that I did not anticipate on film. It's like
the push isn't really there though.
Yeah, but they blocked up the line pretty well. Yeah, I think that's still pretty good defensive line, base to it.
Yeah.
It just with that running QB aspect to it and the lack of pass rush, and we've seen the last 2 games, the defense has a hard time towards the 3 house. And it's truly because that front 7 just isn't as dominant as it was last year. And they're making the plays at 3 or 4 yards downfield, which is fine. That's what the scheme's meant to do. But they're not making those negative plays.
Yeah.
They're not having those
Down
1 yard plays where you actually are in 2nd and 9 now. Now you're going to be in 3rd and 6 unless you have another average play. It's just teams have been on schedule against us consistently all year, and it looks like that's going to continue. And this team it's going to feel very comfortable being on schedule against us. It's got a very easy time generating 5-6 yard plays.
Yeah.
Based on their
Burks is just going to get open. They're going to be able to use Erps in the screen game, the reverse.
They always have a pretty talented tight
The
end.
jet sweep, yeah. They have enough skill talent and a good QB.
The running backs can, make somebody kind of miss,
Yeah.
an extra few yards.
Yeah.
They're going to move the ball in this game.
Yeah.
And it's what's sad is like truly this kind of reminds me of the Penn State game where you go into Penn State and you're like, they're going to move the ball on offense. Like this is going to be a margins game. Like we're going to starting this year before the season, we thought Purdue at home probably would.
Mm-hmm.
Like we'll have 2-score win probably. Yeah. And if Cade's playing this game, I truly think we do win. It's like not easily, but we do win.
Yeah.
But now you go into this game and it feels like just like the Michigan State game happened. Like we had to win in the margins. We had a punt return. We had, forced the football on the last drive. Cooper had his pick on 1st and 10.
I think the other part is like they had a back-breaking offsides that led to a longer field goal. That's 5 yards closer. That thing gets inside the post. And then on their last drive, they had back-to-back offsides.
Right.
They were staying on schedule every drive.
Right. And that's what the really concerning thing about the defense is that we've really not been able to get people on schedule.
Yeah.
Like we're just not playing fast.
No. Well, I think like you mentioned, the D line, especially the DN play, is just not dominant in any fashion. Yeah. And that's when we don't have dominant DN play. Yeah.
And I think this is just a barometer game for the rest of the season. Like your season's defined in the next 3 weeks. You got Purdue, you got Wisconsin, you got Minnesota. Like that's the 3 best teams in the West in my eyes. You get 2 of them at home, and you get a first-year coach at Wisconsin. The Kurtz program and this season is defined in these next 3 games. Like your back's against the wall. You play this style for a reason to remove the QB play, receiver play from your system.
Yeah.
You got to have that emotion though. You got to play with that fire. This team can't sleepwalk through games. It can't sleepwalk emotionally through games. It's got to play freaking really hard.
Yeah.
Like that's how you win these games.
Yeah.
You're at home at 2/3. It's going to be a sellout. Can this team motivate itself, even though most likely its end goals are gone? Can it motivate itself to still play through this game at the level like it was competing for a Big Ten title still? And that's truly what it comes down to, because you cannot play either part of these schemes half-ass. You have to be going all out.
Well, I mean, Minnesota is not going to throw at the skill talent. I don't really believe in Catholic, I'm honest. Mm-hmm. Illinois doesn't have much of an identity. He's got an athletic QB, but I don't think they still.
Altmaier consistently makes horrible decisions.
So that's that. The teams I'm looking at with real skill talent, real QB play, Mordecai's look really good. Like Purdue, Wisconsin, and then who? Rutgers is going to be able to get us into a really gross game with how good their defense is playing. But I still believe that eventually we make the play in that defense. I don't think they'll score many touchdowns against us. Nebraska, I don't think they scores many touchdowns against us.
Okay. They're still figuring it out.
But we're really, these next 2 games, Purdue and Wisconsin, if you can win these 2 games, however you need to,
right?
Pull some bullshit Kirk stuff.
Yeah.
But this is what, we have all these injuries, but we're not an offensive team.
Right.
We're just going to need to be better in special teams. You can't have 2 balls get kicked over your head.
Mm-hmm.
You can't have a shanked punt.
Right.
You have to make your field goals. You have to get a block field goal.
Yeah, you're right. It does come down. This is probably the best 2 teams you're going to play.
Yeah.
In terms of bad matchups.
No, I think watch these Purdue games back. Fresno State's a ranked team right now.
Right.
And they still kind of piss that game down the line with some mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Fresno's got some real offensive talent.
Right.
That game. Wisconsin, they just got behind early.
Right.
Made some early mistakes, but
I think where the true weakness in this Purdue team actually lies is that defensive front.
yeah.
Because they are asking, and their linebackers. I
think their linebackers are not very.
I think their front 7 still lacks true depth to play this team.
Yeah.
And true very good players. We need to be able to take advantage. Yeah. You gotta be able your only kind of advantage in this game is your offensive line's really old. And it's playing against a bunch of guys who are playing the 5th or 6th game system.
Yeah.
And you gotta go out and dominate that matchup.
Yeah. We do have to go. We have to come out and run the ball.
Right.
It's gonna be how we win.
Right. That or all legitimately catches 10 balls for
Or Anderson gets going, or Caleb Brown, or something like that.
Right.
But I don't anticipate Vines or riding to take over the game. Honestly, get Caleb Brown to play a week and actually get him the ball in his face. That's just something that needs to happen.
I think what needs to happen is he needs to right back.
Yeah.
I think what we've seen so far is there's a reason why we're not getting the ball. It's because it's not a strong route runner, and we have to just we didn't learn with Tracy.
Yeah.
Tracy should have been a running back from the day one. I'm starting to get the Caleb Brown thing is maybe just move to running back, and he's got the body type for it.
Yeah.
He's a stocky guy.
Yeah.
Get that athlete, the ball in a way that is easy, a lot more consistent.
Yeah. But actually, a scheme I liked a lot from Fresno State that I think it was maybe a game clinching touchdown, or one that took a 2-score lead, a 1-score lead. Purdue's got a really mud in his boots, or linebacker number 8. Don't know his last name. They isolated. They had a motion from guys at running back, motion them out to an isolate a single receiver on one side, then ran a little slant and go on him. And the guy caught it with 4 yards of space. You have Terrell Washington Jr. who played a ton of receiver in high school.
Right.
Steal that concept.
Yeah.
Isolate the linebacker out wide.
Yeah.
Man-to-man linebackers. That should be something we go to consistently in this game. Is try and isolate their linebackers outside somehow.
Right.
Maybe shift all out.
Yeah, they're not movers.
They're not movers.
Yeah.
And I think we are going to see a lot of outside zone, because it actually started to work later in the game against Illinois. You get these guys, pick up their feet and moving.
I think that's actually because surely if you're putting 5 ends, D linemen on the field, outside zone is actually the best play in skin.
It is. So yeah,
you generally don't get to play 5 guys above 270.
Yeah.
Or usually have 2 scatty.
Sweep will be actually a big play too.
Right.
We'll try and sweep them a couple times.
Yeah. I still think outside zone, you get those guys right.
I know, but you're going to be wasting the defender backside.
Right.
So you do want to try and attack. You have to attack D-gap.
Right.
Like that's a reality.
You're burning one.
We're probably going to see a return of the jet sweep too, because you can catch 3 guys inside. That will be a play we use. But yeah, my big thing here too is you can't fear the middle of the field throw. I know we saw 2 half hits.
You have to against this defense.
Yeah,
sort of a no.
Yep. Man-to-man out routes, it's scary, and the way that QB, the angle he sees, it just doesn't look positive ever. And that's why you see that ball outside all the time, right? And it's not close.
Yeah. You want to do predictions?
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm going to go. I just think that Purdue is going to consistently have more answers on offense than we will. I think that there's built in the entirety of their scheme fits hand in glove. I don't think they're truly a deviation higher than us in talent.
I think they are on offense,
but I don't think that defense. I think their defense has some real words on it.
Michigan State had some real words of defense.
Truly. But I'm going to go 16-13 Purdue. I think we can still hold up against these guys in the red zone.
Yeah.
But I think they get there a lot.
Yeah.
And I don't see outside of defensive or special team score us just be able to score points.
Yeah. I'm actually going to take a win. I think this is a game where Kirk has, a good enough defense, a good enough special teams to beat a first-year program at home.
Right.
We're going to be really comfortable in this game and close to, in a 16-13 game. I think I'll just take the opposite. I'll take a 16-13 win for Iowa. And that's just because hopefully 1 or 2 times you get the ball in Cooper's hand with space.
Right.
And that if they're not a really well trained up punt return team, obviously our punt return game is excellent. You don't see teams ever get the ball with 30 yards of space and no one touches a guy for 20.
Yeah.
Without him having to break stride. That is high level execution.
Right.
We put a lot of really good players on that field for a reason. It's also just a hope,
Right.
I can't take a loss at home to Purdue because that means the season's over.
Right. It's a linchpin game.
It is.
It truly.
Because you could go on the road and lose to Wisconsin, and you can go out and win 10 games.
Right.
And it's a real possibility. It's a real possibility.
You're really this next 2 games are the best 2 opponents you're playing.
Yeah. So I can't take a loss.
Yeah.
And I think a home crowd environment, at least now Deacon's got to be week prepared. Hopefully you can learn to, you're going to have to throw it in the middle of the field.
Right.
I think we have enough guys in Anderson, in Bytes, and all to do that. And hopefully we can get one of the running backs back this week.
Right.
We haven't heard anything.
Yeah.
But if we can get one of them back and get some actual running back play.
If we get 1 or 2 back, I think my prediction might change.
Yeah.
But what we just saw, I don't know.
Yeah. I like Moulton, but he's just got to stop running like he's scared of the world.
Yeah. Well, he's just running. He's just I'm going to hit the hard.
Yeah.
Just see it.
All right. Well, so we got absolutely murdered on bets this week. And
you don't have to run them all. We lost all.
Yeah. It was a rough.
I went 0-2. You went 0-3.
I went 0-3 comfortably.
Still. We got to get our eyes checked by eye surgeons associates.
Yeah. I do a quick rundown. I'm going to take.
We got to do the chip.
Oh, yeah.
So we were cowards last week. We were so mad about us losing to Penn State. We did not do the chip. So we're going to do it this week.
We got 3 drops apiece for 3 losses. I should probably even do 4.
I got 2.
I lost the Iowa State, Oklahoma under in the first half, which when you're watching the game where you have a 60-point first half and you have under 49, Honestly, looking at the lines today, I was like, I don't have any.
Yeah, you're blind.
I'm blind. And it's terrifying. All right. That's 4. We'll go. How much?
Yeah, that's a lot.
Okay. Cool. Sweet.
Well, that's
And going into this, Kyle has exposed himself to spicier foods for the majority of his time. And actually, another thing we mentioned now is please go out and subscribe. I know we're getting views in the 6,000 mark now. We're still under 1,000. 1,000's a huge number for us.
if you're listening to this late in the video and you're not subscribed,
Please just figure it out. But yeah, Kyle's exposed himself to hot sauce for the majority of his life. I usually avoid hot sauce, so I have yet to have to do the chip. This could be a fairly rough experience.
Yeah. All right, get your picks ready. So you're not going to want to talk.
Got it.
I only have 2 picks this week, but let's do it.
So,
That one not do water and sweat.
sure. All right, I'll do Iowa minus 2.5 and Iowa Purdue under 41. Actually, it's 40.5 now. I'll do Alabama minus 2.5. Oh my God.
Lesson not eagle back. That's
And Nebraska plus 3.5. Oh my God.
I'm going to do Clemson minus 21.5 or 21 versus Wake Forest. I don't think Wake Forest is very good. I think watching that Florida State Clemson game 2 weeks back, I think Clemson's very good this year. They had 2 kind of unfortunate losses off big plays. Duke, we obviously know Duke's very good too, and they kind of gave Clemson one of those tough losses early. I'm going to do Alabama minus 2.5 versus Texas A&M. Alabama minus 2.5 versus Texas A&M. I think this is going to be. I just can't trust Texas A&M. Like we've heard this, story forever. Under Jimbo, they haven't won the big game yet. Give me Saban. Give me Alabama. That's what 2 picks to the week.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
I'm not. Okay.